I'm about to introduce somebody who's very near and dear and who is a fellow writer and environmental justice activist, becoming very visible in the community, holding it down with Filipino American Coalition for Environmental Solutions and many other activist endeavors, also environmental educator in the Bay. And she just so happens to share my last name. Her name is Aimee Suzara, so give it up for Aimee.
This is called How to Make Chicken Binakol. I imagine cooking my mother's chicken binakol, like half remembering and half remaking music from songs heard just once on the radio. I culled out the outlines of a recipe from a fleeting memory of taste. In my Oakland kitchen, I pounded the slim hips of lemongrass with the flat end of a knife, bruising the stalk to release the subtle flavors. I cracked circles into the tops of young coconuts and poured out the sweet water. I peeled onions, ground black pepper, and sliced yellow ginger. And I reminded myself that there are no maps when you're making a nearly forgotten meal, only a guiding hunger for something almost lost and then found again. While I was growing up, at the heart of my relationship with my mother was a struggle around food. Our family meals were erratic, cooked late and sometimes too close to bedtime. Dinners of dry, halibut fish and white rice often ended with half-eaten plates, the mindless chatter of the TV, and little conversation. As a child, I dreamed of eating meals like those in the books that I read. I imagined bannocks and porridge eaten by feisty children that lived in the peat moss cottages in 16th century Cornwall, and freshly churned country butter and piping hot crumpets from the secret garden. I read Heidi. Anyone read Heidi before? It's okay if you didn't, it wasn't that good. But I read Heidi and I savored the idea of creamy goat cheese made by a kindly grandfather with blue eyes. But I had no imagination for Filipino food or Filipino families. No inherited understanding of a still empty stomach made full with bananas, the taste of tiny soft-shell crabs, or coconuts simmered so long that they turned into caramel. I thought that food equaled a mother's love. My mom still laughs remembering my Post-it campaign, which lasted from about the age of 11 to age 13, or age 8, I probably put it wrong. I strategically would place reminders around the house saying, "I'm hungry, feed me now." She called to tell me that 15 years later, a well-hidden Post-it message was found inside her black lacquer music box. And I still remember the hurt expression when I told her that Dad was more of a mom than she was because he cooked surprise meals of garlic rice and adobo. In elementary school, I felt like the only one whose mom didn't bring homemade goods to class. "How come you never make anything?" I once asked, feeling wounded. She brushed it off, but then a few days later, she sang to me to come over. In her hands were thumbprint cookies made with jelly filling, ones that she had made herself. I ate one, stunned and confused by that. As I grew older, to my mother's annoyance, I filled her ears with stories of real family dinners at friends' houses. I raved about Michelle's dinners because they had parquet squeezed butter that came out of a yellow plastic bottle. Then the Irish grandmother, or Peter's mother, who cooked enough huge vats of Burmese fish soup to share with extended family and friends, us included. "Why should I cook?" she snapped. "When I cook, no one says, 'That was good,' or 'Thanks for cooking.' You keep comparing me to other people. So why bother?" But then one day, I accidentally overheard her talking on a long-distance phone call to her sisters, telling them about my Post-it behavior and her doubts around cooking. So it's funny, I could cook for myself, and maybe if my parents weren't busy working, I wouldn't have learned. So at age 8, I made that first meal of scrambled eggs that were cooked in the microwave. They were tough, but I was elated. After gaining access to the stove and knives, I began to experiment with those elegant, old cookbooks in the kitchen. I bookmarked the glossary for terms like blanch and whisk, and then studied those glossy, still-like photographs of foods that didn't even grow anywhere within a 100-mile radius. One summer afternoon, while combing through the kitchen shelf, my hands found a slim paperback cookbook simply titled Recipes of the Philippines. The pages were slightly yellowed but sturdy, and they were with this narrow font from a movable typewriter and a few blurry black and white photographs. There was a small chapter on American recipes like Knorr fruit gelatin with preserved fruits and roast beef for entertaining guests, it noted. But most of the recipes, from bibingka to sinigang bangus to suman, sounded unfamiliar and exciting. So I asked my mother, where did this book come from? I brought that when we immigrated, she explained. The contents of the cookbook suddenly felt precious. They were like this fossil, hinting at her secret cooking past and of our Philippine ancestry. Its spare pages hinted at dishes empty from my vocabulary as my parents' native dialects. But then my mother, she entered our kitchen as this translator of recipes. We deciphered these unknown ingredients together and fed an unnamed longing for a language of food to call our own. And she recalled the use of achuete for color. Once we struggled through an attempt to wrap, tie, and steam our own rice cakes with banana leaves. And with practice, I learned from her the art of dodging hot oil spat out from the pan. And if you want to read the rest, you can talk to me later.